It's time for Side Scrollers with me, Stuttering Craig.
You decide when you lose, not other people.
And Blabs.
I like pickles.
And co-hosted by our friends from around the internet. If you like common sense, hit that thumbs up button and of course the subscribe button and join us Monday through Friday live at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now, broadcasting from our homes, it's time for the #1 gaming and entertainment podcast on God's green earth. It's time for Side Scrollers.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome on out to Side Scrollers on YouTube.com and Rumble.com and SideScrollersPodcast.com. What's going on, everybody? Hey, I'm Stuttering Craig. My, oh my. We are not live. We are premiering today a clip show here for July 4th. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome you guys out. Thanks so much for tuning in to this premiere. And for those of you Americans who are watching today, hey, happy July 4th. Happy Independence Day. It's a big deal for us over in America, which is why we are not live. But a big what's up to all you who live internationally. We appreciate your support and your ongoing efforts to bring back normalcy and common sense in the video game entertainment space. Well, look, today we are going to be doing a countdown show. These are the top 5 clips from this year so far. 2024 has been outstanding for us. We continue to grow because I got to be honest, there's way more of us than there are of them, which is just great. So let's continue growing. So we're going to be counting down our top 5 most popular clips as voted on by you, by your viewership. We didn't put it in any poll. The poll is always the numbers, the viewership. So let's get to it. I would like to say thank you first and foremost. If you'd like to support our community of normal men and common sense, any and all super thanks down in the comments are greatly appreciated, or super chats during the premiere. Thank you. We appreciate that. We'll be definitely keeping an eye on those things. Don't have any boobs to show you for the big ones today because we aren't going to be live, but just know they're there and waiting for you tomorrow when we're back live. If you want to pick up a shirt, an American Pride shirt, we'd obviously greatly appreciate you doing that. Man, that has been massive, and we will continue to make that available for everybody. With that said, let's get into number 5 on our list. With 118,000 views currently on the channel, Capcom absolutely wrecking the myth of male and female, the percentage of people that are playing these games. It's 50-50. No. Capcom says, our data doesn't say that. And while some people will say, no, Craig, no. There's the mobile games and such. We're not talking about mobile gamers, all right? We're not talking about our wives who play Candy Crush. Let's get to the clip and see what Capcom had to say. Did you guys see this story that came out? The super elections?
Yeah.
So they pretty much polled their audience. They had 254,000 people respond to the polls, and they've broken the poll down. Pretty much asking, like, what do you like about our games? What do you want to see more of our games? And what franchises would you like to see come back? Right. So that's a pretty good sample size. And they have it broken down very, very well with 254,000 people responding. They have all sorts of franchises that need with representation in here. But the breakdown of this is amazing here. What is the one thing that we continuously hear over and over and over again about the video game space? The one thing that I always hear is it's a 50-50 split between men and women. That's the one thing we hear over and over again from the ESRB and the electronic safety, whatever it is. They throw out these stats that 50% of women play video, or that 50% of gamers are women. And I think that this Capcom Super Elections just shoves that back in everyone's face. When you look at the results here and you scroll down, it says here are the people who voted. 82% male. 82% male here, which I think is an accurate representation of what the video game industry looks like and what gamers look like. Kay, Blabs, what are your thoughts on this? Do you feel like this is accurate, or do you feel like this number should be higher and this is not accurate?
Kay, how do you feel about him just assuming our gender like that?
Excuse me, bigot. No.
Yeah.
I I completely agree. I think this is the most accurate thing ever. That's why I love this whole Capcom breakdown. I'm glad we're talking about it. I agree that it is probably 82% male, if not even higher. Now, every time they say that there's 50% of women playing games, I'm sorry to say, but they're talking about mobile gamers a lot of the time, too. Now, I know I'm in the gaming industry, so it might sound hypocritical. I'm saying, oh, there's not many women. There's not, though. There really isn't. It's a majority. They're taking these stats and they're inflating it with, look at these women that play Candy Crush. Yeah, they're totally gamers. And we all know at the end of the day, there's a difference between a gamer that is playing on console, playing on PC, versus these people that are playing casual games like Words with Friends, whatever, Farmville, all that stuff. This is very different. So I agree. This is completely accurate.
James, I think this is a pretty accurate representation. The 4% was interesting. The idea that here we are over here, but we'll just kind of slowly mosey on past that. But as you scroll down, it has a breakdown of the ratio, which I actually think this is pretty accurate as well. And this is online, so I don't know if many less than 10-year-olds should be online voting on Capcom games, but whatever. But the total here is almost 80% between the ages of 20 and 30. And I think this is pretty accurate as you go along. Now, I do think this is going to balance out in the next, well, maybe not balance out, but I think the 40s will increase to 15%, in the next 5, 10, 15 years as the 30-year-olds get a little bit older, right? Alex, we were talking about this. This is the breakdown of their voters here with 82% male. And we were saying that we think this is a more accurate representation of the video game industry as opposed to the 50-50 that we're constantly being told that 50% of gamers are women. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
I think if you include mobile gaming and tablet gaming, that does go 50-50.
I agree. I think we all agree on that. But I think
I think if you look at core player base like PC gamer, console gamer, things like that, if you subtract mobile out, then it will sort of like align more to this size. I think also too, like the type of games Capcom makes are more tailored towards men anyways. Like, sure, girls absolutely want to fuck Dante like nobody's business, 100%. But everybody who likes Dante is like, I want to be Dante. Because I always said that same shit when I was 14, right? Like like Monster Hunter. Like, I get to fight giant lizards and smash off their tails. That's, most guys want to do that. Fighting games, right? There are some trans women who are fighters. There are some like girls who are fighting games too. Like there's a guy named Hot Wheels. I think Hot Wheels passed away actually. He was a disabled fighting game player. But like the majority of them are going to be dudes who love a toxic shit talking environment. I think the majority of the games that you make also dictate your audience as well. So it can't just be like, this is the whole industry. I think it depends like the kind of games you make and also the kind of like place you're making them or putting them out there. Like, I think that's really what it is. Like, yeah, it makes sense for Capcom because they make horror games, science fiction games, fighting games, and monster hunting games. So yeah, you're going to have like Resident Evil. What girl doesn't want Resident Evil, like Leon Kennedy, to put a baby in him? Like, tell me which one doesn't. Right. You're not going to find them. Right. So
Kay, do you want him to put a baby in you?
No, not really.
Oh.
There you go. There's one.
There's the one.
No, but I didn't want to disprove his point there because it might generally be true, but I'm not.
Are you more like Chris? You're more like Chris Redfield girl? Is that what it is?
I'm just like, I don't know. For me, Resident Evil is just a big jump scare game. So I'm just terrified every second. I'm not thinking about banging anyone while I'm playing that game. I'm thinking of running away from zombies.
You're more of a Virgil girl, probably. That's probably what it is. Oh, emo in the corner.
Look, I love the Devil May Cry games. They're great. And I agree that I wanted to be Dante when I was young. That is so badass, swinging that sword.
You go. It's just, it's kind of like that kind of style, right? So I think if you were a company that just made games like Barbie's Fishing Simulator or like Horse Petter, that this would look very different. But I think also too, like it all depends what kind of stuff they're looking at. If the ESRB is counting mobile and like everything else, then yeah, you could probably say it's closer to 50-50. But the thing is, statistics are really important. And that's what people don't really look at. And the ESRB can say it's 50-50 and you could say, oh, okay. And you can just take that and run with it and be wrong because it's not the actual truth when you look into it. And that's how people like abuse stats all the time. So like stats is the most important class to take in college. That's how I learned like this is bullshit. So you can't just, just like these stats, you can't just take in a vacuum.
Right. Well, they are fun to look at though. So let's continue to glance at them here. So they broke down the top 10 favorite Capcom game series by world, the overall world, and by Japan. Just based off a hunch, I'm curious, what are y'all's favorite Capcom series? And let's see if it lines up with the world's number one here. Alex, your number one Capcom game?
Devil May Cry, but you have to like take away 2. 2 doesn't exist.
Okay. James?
Phoenix Wright. I'm a Phoenix Wright simp.
Okay.
Devil May Cry.
Okay. Blabs? Any thoughts on that?
I have none.
Okay.
Oh no.
The most popular franchise that Capcom has voted on by this is actually Biohazard. Biohazard. RE, for sure. With Devil May Cry finishing third behind Mega Man. So Mega Man is still popular with today's audience, which is cool. Very, very cool. And you see, I was kind of shocked to see Street Fighter down at 7. As Street Fighter was Capcom's flagship franchise for a long time, but it's also a fairly niche, with fighting games these days. So
I think there's a few contributors to that, though, right? There's so many fighting games on the market now that Street Fighter might not stand up as much as it used to. And also, compared to the Capcom has so many good series. Like, look at how many people are fond of Mega Man still to this day, and those stats reflect it completely. I was not shocked to hear that Mega Man was that high. So if you look at those, like Resident Evil, Mega Man, Phoenix Wright being up there, like all of those are such strong series that Street Fighter is really strong too, but in comparison, I'm not shocked.
And this is why stats are important, because Dino Crisis isn't the number 3 series that people want, or people like on Capcom. They just want Dino Crisis to be remade.
Exactly.
Right.
They're more looking at make the next game.
So you can say, oh, people like Dino Crisis when they really don't. They just want the remake to happen for Dino Crisis. So they're going to pump those numbers up as much as they can to have that happen.
And they actually ask that question as well, like when we get to it. But they say, like, what's the number one game you want to come back? And people are like, Dino Crisis, Dino Crisis, Dino Crisis.
Right.
I think it's so great that they're asking that question.
Well, an even better question is this: something Kay just said. Like, what do you look for in Capcom games? And I think this is just a bigger question. What do you look for in video gameplay, right? And just video games as a whole. And the number one answer was just gameplay, like fun games. Unique and attractive characters, unpredictable, exciting storylines. So we're looking for games, we're looking for characters, we're looking for stories. That's what people I think people don't understand with all this stuff that's happening in the industry, right? Like the answers are literally right here in front of you. They just want games, stories, and cool characters, and that's it. That's it. That's the number 3 things. And like make your music good. It's not that hard. We don't need to overthink video games. And I feel like that's what a lot of these developers are doing right now. They're really overthinking things. But like the answers are literally right here from Capcom. And I think this is actually a really good survey for the entire gaming industry to just look at across the way. So anyways, I don't know. Do you feel like that's wrong, or do you think like those top 3 are accurate representations of what you guys feel about video games as well?
That's 100% accurate. Like that's completely accurate to what people want. And guess what's not on that list? Diversity, inclusion. I want to look like me in the game. None of that is there. Gameplay, exciting story, great music. Like that's what people want. They want a good narrative. Storytelling transcends everything. We don't need to look or feel like the character to enjoy it, right? So I think every single gaming studio in the world needs to bring this in front of their team, have a meeting, and go over this and really like discuss it. This is how you fix the industry right here.
I like number 5 a lot. Depth for repeat play. I mean, how many times have we seen new games come out and nobody's replaying them because there's no replayability whatsoever? From Hogwarts Legacy to the latest Star Wars game, everyone played like the one time where they didn't even finish it and they're like moved on to another game.
When you look at this, it says novel worldview, and I would guess that's the closest thing that you could potentially get to like diversity, equity, and inclusion along the way. I think I'm reaching right there, but that's the closest thing that you could potentially get to it right here. But there's so many other factors associated with
novel worldview. Could also be like the world building in the game as well.
Yeah, that's true. If you look at Doom, right? The new Doom came out. And what did everybody do? They fucking came.
It was like, holy shit, look at this Doom game.
Right.
Right. That's what people want. They're like, we don't want cinematic trailers. We want gameplay. We want to see what the game's going to play like to determine whether or not I want to play that game. And Doom does all of those things. Like, it has the music, it has the character, it has like the combos, the style. Like, Doom is very much a fighting game in first person, in my opinion. And I think that's why people are so attracted to it, because there's a skill cap to it. But it's very difficult for games to do that and for developers to do that. So what they'll do is they'll take the easy way out. They'll say, okay, what can we do that's going to be simple for a lot of people to play instead of making it for a few people to play? Then you get that constant, like, then you get what Dragon Age happened. You get stuff like that. You get this like systematic churn of like the same game coming out over and over. If you notice, they all look and play the same, and there's no variables or variance to it. Unless then Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, and everybody just fucking, what the fuck, like these video games are back, like that kind of a thing.
Well, I think it's a great. I think you're right, Kay. Every game developer in the industry should take that and say, like, here are gamers, right? This is your audience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what any of our internal data says. This is it right here. This is the people who buy your games on a day-to-day basis, and specifically target the 20 to 40-year-old gamer who has money, who is willing to spend on that game, because teenagers don't have a whole lot of expendable income. So focus on what they want in particular, because those are the people who are going to be buying your game. I will go to my grave saying I just do not believe all that stuff that the Entertainment Software Association throws out there about the 50-50 split. I mean, I get it. Like I said in the clip, if you're going to take the females who play Candy Crush and all the mobile games, okay. But that's not who Activision is making games for the PlayStation 5, or EA is making, these popular franchises for. They have a separate division for that, and I think that the demographics for that and the data should reflect that. But alas, we're going to keep getting fed this 50-50 split, which we all know is not real. Okay, let's go to number 4 on our list. But before I do, I want to remind you guys that today, during the stream, we're going to have a special sell. If you don't know, I actually have a supplement company called Blue Bonnet Supplements. The link to this is down below, and we're going to treat today's as a sponsor, if you will. And I have a sell going on today and today only. If you use the promo code FREEDOM, you'll get 25% off your entire order. Orders over $75. Now, at my supplement company, you guys can see I got them all back here. I literally take them every day. You got multivitamin gummies, and you got joint and bone gummies and all sorts of stuff. And I've worked with Beardo, actually, to create a phase 1 where we are going to be rolling out multiple phases that just kind of get you. The idea behind Blue Bonnet is get off your butt and let's start taking some accountability. All right. Well, I'm a little bit older, right? We all get a little older. We need to stop eating Doritos and Mountain Dew. So if you're looking to take that first step, head over to bluebonnetsupplements.com. Once again, link is in the description. Use promo code FREEDOM to get 25% off all orders over $75. That is today only. So open up a new link while you're listening to the show. We'd greatly appreciate that. And take some accountability for your life. All right, let's go to number 4. With 128,000 views over on YouTube, I'll tell you what, we all see the insanity that's happening going on in the world on a day-to-day basis. The video game journalists, bloggers, they have a big say in the narrative that is being pushed. But I'll tell you what, we had a video game dev really narrow down and just go in on some game journalists on this clip. And this was just absolutely amazing to see through this tweet. Let's check out that clip. I thought this was a really interesting post here. This post over on X. This is from Thomas Mahler. And Thomas Mahler is the CEO and creative director of Moon Game Studios. Now, what is Moon Game Studios? What are some of these games that they've done? Well, as pointed out by Mark the Cyborg, they've done the Ori games. They're doing a game called No Rest for the Wicked right now. So the Ori games you may recognize as this little guy here, pretty popular games. So they've done well, and they are independent. So let's go back to this post here from Thomas Mahler, the CEO of this company. It says, I already know I might get myself into trouble once again by posting this, but I just replied to Maurice Weber, a German journalist who is affiliated with the German outlet GameStar. Now, Maurice Weber, here he is right here. He's posting here. He says, I do think it's especially important these days that we always remind ourselves to try to keep an open mind and try to understand even those who think differently than we do. Here's my response to him complaining about people who are apparently fed up with woke culture. Okay, so this is a longer post, but we're going to read through it because it makes a lot of sense. And then we're going to talk about the reaction to this. So this journalist reached out to him, said, because this is the thing now. People are noticing that people are pissed about all this, and now they're writing about, shows like us, G&G, Nerdrotic, whatever, that are done with all this nonsense. And he says, I think it all makes sense, Maurice. This is basically a backlash against cancel culture and similar phenomenon because everyone has had enough of that nonsense. I'd suggest that you take a more nuanced view, especially since you're positioned yourself as a journalist. Yet you often display a narrow-minded attitude and don't seem to question what's actually going on. And that is something we should expect from a journalist. Just because you personally haven't been affected by cancel culture doesn't mean there hasn't been a lot of foolishness happening, and it's still ongoing. It's only a matter of time before it impacts you too. Consider the famous statement. First, they came for the socialist, and I didn't speak about it because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist, and I did not speak about it because I wasn't a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, but I didn't speak about it because I wasn't a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Instead of allowing artists to just be artists, Hollywood and most of game developers on the West Coast have decided that it's appropriate to use films and video games as platforms to push their own political agenda. If you argue otherwise, I would expect a journalist like you to back it up with thorough research. Moreover, it's become the norm to point fingers at others, particularly at those who may think differently than us, rather than allowing others to be different and listening to them regardless. We attack them outright. It's frankly eerie, reminiscent of old Nazi tactics. Anyone who doesn't conform is ridiculed, and it's suggested they may be shamed, fired, and have their careers destroyed. This has been the approach over the past few years, and I know plenty of people whose careers have been devastated by trivialities and misinformation, and they continue to suffer today. You seem unaffected, and thus you refuse to consider a more open perspective. Your lack of empathy in this matter is not only unhelpful, but also shows a considerate amount of ignorance. Allow me to play critic for a moment. At GameStar, you do the same thing. Instead of cleaning your own house, you wield the, quote, we report and earn from our articles. But be aware, those guys are the real villains narrative. Just to ensure the spotlight never falls on you, aligning yourself just so. That's precisely why we've cut you off. We find such morally dubious practices unacceptable and refuse to support them. You lack the initiative to conduct your own journalistic investigations, as it seems too much work.
Yeah, I was going to say, so this is a personal feud, it sounds like, that has gone on, and they've gotten to the point where they're no longer going to... Didn't something like that happen with, like, Bethesda or something, like banned Kotaku, or like they weren't going to speak with Kotaku anymore or something several years ago? There was some studio that wasn't going to talk to Kotaku at some point. That's what this sounds like. Because at the outset, my first question was, wait a minute. He felt he had to get out in front of a German language game journalist article. Like,
right.
English readers don't even read English video game publications, let alone German ones. I don't think this was going to get traction. But now it seems like he's trying to clarify because his company apparently has boycotted them. Right.
Well, they just said, we're not going to deal with this nonsense. And here it is. I think this is, what he's doing is he's taking the shit that this journalist is spewing and putting it right back in his face and saying, here you go, smell it, smell the shit, and making them smell it. So he continues here because he's going in pretty hard. He says, you lack the initiative to conduct your own journalistic investigations, as it seems too much work when the next clickbait article is due the next day. The sad thing is that young journalists like yourself never knew anything else. The more outrage you generate, the more clicks you get, and that's how you make a living, at the expense of others, which apparently doesn't matter as long as you're seen as the good guys. I hope in the future you will approach the world in a more with more skepticism and openness, and truly consider both sides instead of aligning yourself with one to amplify their propaganda. Now, the most fascinating thing about this is, and that's what he said, and he, continued here with just a little bit just saying it's deeply important after everything that happened over the past couple of years that we always question hidden agendas, always try to be loving and show understanding, even to those we vehemently disagree with. Proper discourse is more important than ever, and journalists need to understand their responsibilities in this and start acting like journalists again. Now, what's amazing about this is that people are going crazy in German in response to him. And he's getting flamed, and he's seen as extremely hateful for saying those things. And that's the most fascinating thing about this. He's just a dude. He was extremely calm and rational, and now he's getting attacked because he was calm, rational, and explained exactly what the guy asked for. And these attacks are on him personally and not on anything he said in his response.
Yeah.
And the only way you can respond to that is because clearly it's a cult. Like, they're in a cult.
Yes, and this is a consistent tactic. There was a great I'm trying to think of what the show was. It was from the 1950s that would, talk about various social issues or whatever. It was just an old black and white show. And on one of them, they read from a pamphlet, actually, that was given out to members of the Communist Party USA. And it said something like, if someone has become too irritating, after sufficient buildups, accuse them of being associated with something that already has a bad smell. So call them fascist, call them this, call them that. Because what will happen is they will have to ultimately defend themselves. And it doesn't matter if they defend themselves and have proof, it will necessarily marginalize and distract them. Right? So this is kind of a tactic that happens. This is one of the reasons that you constantly see these kind of ad hominem attacks in response to something that's relatively reasoned. It's why it's honestly best in most cases to simply reply, mock, ignore. Reply, mock, ignore. Because the more you engage and the more you assume that they're engaging in good faith, the more they're going to exploit your intent to engage in good faith. And we've seen this, dozens and dozens and dozens of times. It's the most rational, calm people who get absolutely excoriated in public because they try to reason with people who are not really about this issue. The old phraseology is, it's never the issue. The issue is always the revolution, in this case, the cultural revolution, the politics, the constantly being politically engaged in that extreme mode. Once you understand that, man, it's liberating because you can just let this run off your back like so much rainwater.
Well, it continues here as naturally this guy is being attacked, and we're going to go over to Grums here for pointing this out. And I wanted to watch a little bit of this because this is a really great example of, this is just fascinating stuff. So this is from Grums. He says, in case you're wondering why Phil Weber, the narrative director of CD Projekt Red, and that's Witcher and Cyberpunk, is attacking Thomas Mahler for speaking out, CD Projekt Red has become woke and is pandering to ESG investors. See their own video. So here is the video, and I want to watch just a couple minutes of this. And there's about 2.5 minutes in. I want to hear what he has to say, and then I want to make it a simple observation. So let's go ahead and take a look here.
My name is Piotr Nielubowicz. I'm a member of the board and CFO at CD Projekt. I'm also personally involved in a range of environmental, social, and governance initiatives, ESG for short, and I'm responsible for CD Projekt Group's reporting in this matter. I would like to present our strategic approach to ESG issues in the context of our business. This approach reflects our identity and our values. It also takes into consideration the interests of our stakeholders identified in a relevance survey, which we carried out for the first time in 2021. The survey produced a list of ESG.
By the way, keep in mind what was happening in 2021, right? Right
Yep.
After all this stuff, like they're asking what their quote unquote stakeholders are.
Well, their first and most important stakeholder, you know who they are, right? The Polish government.
There you go. Right.
They took millions and millions and millions of dollars in order to develop Cyberpunk, and before that, The Witcher, and what they're essentially a company subsidized by the Polish government. That's, I mean, that was a recipe for disaster right from the beginning.
Right. Well, let's go and continue here because about 30. So I'm going to fast forward about 30 seconds because there's a very strong observation I want to point out real quick.
Not shy away from confronting socially important topics in the stories we tell. Our games depict social inequalities, the various paths people take through life, and the problems they face. We want to make sure that the characters populating the worlds we create represent a diverse set of mindsets, social groups, and backgrounds. In The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, we tackled the issue of domestic violence, strained family relationships, and discrimination. Cyberpunk 2077, on the other hand, addresses alienation and dehumanization of society. Our products reach millions of people around the world, so we want to focus on what's important and encourage gamers to reflect upon the choices that surround them.
Why? Like that last statement, like just listen to this last statement real quick. This is
we had forewarning of this approach in 2020. I mean, some of this they were making statements and videos similar to this, not quite as upfront, but similar to this ahead of this game's release. So, you know, if you gave these guys money after the fact, like who are you blaming? Are you blaming them? You better not pipe up now because you didn't say anything then. I did. I talked about it in my review and I got shit for it. I often do. But, you know, you got no one to blame but yourself if you gave these guys your cash.
100%. 100%. But let's go and continue. Let's see how diverse they truly are.
Encourage gamers to reflect upon the choices that surround them. The second important aspect relates to our team.
Okay. As we look at their team, just be observant.
We strive to ensure that we are a company people love working with. We give our team members the opportunity to engage in ambitious projects and pursue unique career development paths.
This is hilarious if you know about the controversy with CD Projekt's work environment. That's what a lot of this is right here. Do you remember that?
Go ahead. Tell me.
This was ahead of Cyberpunk. It came out around 16, 17. There were a bunch of employees. Nobody had heard of this website called Glassdoor. It was just getting more and more popular. And it was a website where employees from companies can review the company that they work for. And somebody on a lark looked up CD Projekt Red. And it was like 1 star all around. Just, we get overworked. The people were... The big story was that it basically gave away that Cyberpunk 2077 was going to be a turd. Because they were talking about the development problems that game was having, that they had to pull off a bunch of the developers to go work on The Witcher 3, that they never had an appropriate direction. One reviewer on that website claimed that the game had to be rebuilt 3 times. Like they started out with one version, then they went off to work on The Witcher 3, then they came back, made another version. That was a turd, so they had to rebuild it again, right? So that's what this reads like to me. Is this is damage control from a company that sounds absolutely terrible to work for.
Well, if you also noticed with how diverse they are.
Yeah. In Poland.
There's not a single black person in this video. Go like
Edgar Winter in a snowstorm over there.
Like, I'm serious. Let's go back and look at this. We're going to watch this without audio, and let's count the number of people that are not white in their super diverse haven they have here. Here we go. Let's just do a quick freeze frame. Do we notice any outside of the bubbles, anybody in these streams that are not white?
Yep.
We're so
what is
diverse.
Interesting is they are, in terms of nationality, very diverse, and there's a good reason for that. Native Polish game developers have already worked for CD Projekt, and a lot of them have moved on because it's a terrible work environment. So they have to hire outside of Poland, but they're primarily hiring from where, right? Like Western countries, England, France, Germany, some Americans, right? Mostly Caucasians. That's what this is about. But most of these people probably not Polish.
Well, as you continue to, I get that it's not the United States. I get it, right? I totally understand that. But so get off your fucking high horse. That's all I'm saying. Like, don't tell me how diverse you should be when you are the least, like, fucking hire people from other parts of the world that reflect that diversity. You fucking hypocrites. Like, that's the thing that drives me the most crazy about it is
No. They'll just put cringy gay characters in their games that people pretend are good. That's how they deal with that. The diversity is virtual. Just like their ethics.
Hopefully we can have more devs speaking common sense like that and just calling journalists what they are, like, and pointing out the bias that people are seeing. I mean, that is brilliant stuff. And hopefully more developers start sticking their neck out there and removing the access medium. All right, let's go to number 3 with 152,000 views on the channel. Our boy Razor Fist. We got in a great conversation about Erin Moriarty. She plays Starlight on The Boys, and the dramatic change that has taken place in her looks since she started playing the role. Razor, have you watched The Boys at all?
Not voluntarily.
So I watched the first season. Blabs, did you watch The Boys?
No, I was never interested in it.
Okay, I watched the first season. I really enjoyed the first season. It was, this kind of like over the top thing. But I don't know, I couldn't really get stuck in the second and third seasons. I didn't go back after the first season. But I am familiar with the lead actor or actress. She's one of the, I think her name is Home something in there. She's like got some not Homelander. I'm sorry. Well,
Home Depot.
Not Home Depot.
Home Improvement.
Stargazer or
Home
something.
Goods.
No, not Home Goods. This is what she looks like when the show started here.
Right.
And unfortunately, Starfire, thank you. This is what she looks like now.
Here she is about to call the mothership and tell Elliot to phone home.
Starlight.
Starlight. Yeah.
Starlight. There we are. Ooh. So this was her before, this beautiful young woman. And now
I do recognize her. She's been in other stuff. I don't know what, but I've seen her in other stuff.
But her name is Erin Moriarty. And she obviously was, absolutely just naturally beautiful. And then Hollywood got their fangs on her, and she went into the plastic surgery booth, and now she looks like that.
Have you seen? So I watch Adam Carolla's podcast every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Kelly and Sharon Osbourne lately?
No.
It's like they're in a direct competition to see who can get the shittier plastic surgery. Kelly Osbourne doesn't even look like the same person. They're those kind of girls who get the lip injections that don't even look mildly attractive. I've never understood the lip injection thing, incidentally. Like, when has any guy been like, fuck, I'd like to bang that chick, but damn it, those thin lips. Shit, I don't know how I can get past
Is this
them.
her?
Oh my God, yeah. Jesus Christ.
My goodness.
Why is she purple?
Well, here's she
look
is.
At her at the
side
top
by side.
there. She doesn't even look like the same. Look at that shit.
Not even
look
close.
Like the same person.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like the one on the left, you can totally tell that she looks like Sharon, and then on the right, it's nothing.
Right. She looks like a sleepy trout.
Wow.
What's with the stupid hair people keep doing with their like freaking buns up there like antlers? Why? Why are you doing that? Stop that, guys.
Well, I had Blabs go through and look at some of the worst botches inspired by Erin Moriarty of The Boys. And Blabs has pulled some of the worst botches of Hollywood through plastic surgery, which is a shame that we have to do this. But at a certain point, you got to point and you got to laugh. And you say, man, like, why are we at a point in society to where we can't just embrace who we are and age gracefully, right? Some will age gracefully, some will not. But at the end of the day, I don't understand how anybody can say that this young lady is not as attractive as this young lady. Same person.
How many years separate those two photographs too?
Well, we can actually go and look at our Instagram. I'll share this. Apply. So this is Erin Moriarty's Instagram, and if you go back like I think a couple of years, you can see the transition slowly but surely. You can see her nose, her jaw, everything changing.
Wow.
Right.
Hey,
look at that. Like, this is not really her, and that's 2022.
Yeah, you can see her eyes getting droopy and kind of gross, and it's messy, man. Like, why do people do that? Well, Blabs, did you Did you have that list of people? Because this is really
Yeah.
interesting here.
All right, so I have to give out a shout out though. First of all, to homegirl Cher. Cher did a terrible nose job. Why did you do that
Right.
to yourself? I don't know why. But let me pull this up. Okay, here we go.
Plastic surgery by Madame Tussauds.
So
And real quick about Cher. She's 77 years old,
Yeah.
right? Like at a certain point, we understand that you're old, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so like my mom, I love my mom, but she's always like, I don't weigh 120 pounds anymore. I was like, yes, you weigh 120 pounds when you were 20, right? Like you're 70 something at this point, mom, right? Like you shouldn't be that way. Otherwise you're frail and you're going to die. You know, like you probably should have some weight on you at this point, you know? Anyways, I'm sorry, continue. Yes, Blabs.
right, so they didn't have many articles that were like up to date in comparison, like before and after. So this one is from I don't even know anymore, but it's somewhat recent. So first of all, do we know a Joan Van Ark?
No. But
Okay.
but regardless
Yikes.
if we know them, we can definitely tell the difference between what they were before and after.
I don't know what he done to his face. He blew it up.
I know. What the fuck?
I'm sorry, at the top, did I see Meg Ryan at the top?
That was another article. We're gonna get to it.
okay,
But
okay.
yeah, so we have Joan Van
Oh.
Ark.
Jesus Christ.
Yikes.
Yeah. We have Bobby Norris.
Get anyone up for fishing?
Courtney Cox. Now, Courtney Cox, for me, was the prettiest one of Friends. Everyone was like, Team Jennifer Aniston. I was like, bro, Courtney's right there.
Yeah, she went ham on the lip injections some
Yeah,
time
she
ago.
did everything. The eyes, like, everything. And I mean, obviously, she's a lot older in this photo, too, so that's taken into consideration. However, she killed her face. We have a Heidi Montage. I don't know who that is, but the nose job is awful.
Yeah, and clearly boobs as well. Got some sort of lift or
Katie
something.
Price.
What the hell? Oh my gosh.
What is that?
Even.
Like the left one looks like a fashion model. The one looks like you gave a 6-year-old crayons and said go color. Like
Right.
that's
Facelift revision, Botox.
Looks like
filler
a
injections.
tight end for the Oakland Raiders too.
right.
Mickey Rourke.
Oh man, Mickey Rourke.
No fuck. That
Jeez.
guy.
Like, he fits so well in the wrestler movie, and the thing is,
Oh yeah.
the overdone surgery actually helped him in that movie for sure. But he is like that guy's mangled himself. It's crazy. It is crazy.
And such a convincing hairpiece there on the right too. Jesus.
Works so well.
Priscilla Presley.
Yeah, right.
Oh man.
She got facelift, brow lift, nose job, Botox.
Yeah, no shit. And her plastic surgery
What
was
is that?
bad all the way back in the 90s.
Yeah. She was very early adopter.
Where the hell Carrot Top is?
You don't know who Carrot Top is, Blabs?
You don't know what?
No.
What?
Hold on.
What?
Carrot Top, comedian, actor.
Blab, wait, you seriously don't know who Carrot Top is, Blabs?
Yeah.
Should I?
Oh, yes, you should. He's one of the best prop comics of all time if you're looking for mediocre redheads.
Gotcha,
And what a
thanks.
long list that is, huh, Craig?
Melanie Griffith. Ugh.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's a lot older, obviously, too, but yikes.
Of
Yeah,
course.
no, that surgeon should be tried for
Oh,
war
yeah,
crime.
Versace.
Oof.
That's one of the worst.
Jesus.
God.
Looks like a dehydrated cat.
Shriveled up prune.
Right.
Oh
All right,
my
so
goodness.
that's that list. However, there are lots of nominees here, and let me pull them up. All right. So first of all, we got this tab right here. So this is a transition of Megan Ryan, who's one of the most
Transition.
famous ones. She transitioned.
Interesting
into,
choice of words.
Yeah. So that's
Poor
her when she's
Meg.
young. Yeah, it's sad because these women have like obviously mental issues where they think they're so ugly that they need to like ruin themselves. There's that.
Slow down, Blabs.
Oh, I'm trying to see if there's like actual, like more than just one image at a time. Yeah. So then.
Good luck finding a photo where she isn't squinting.
Right.
She was
That's
back in
2005 already.
late 90s. Meg Ryan was beautiful.
2001. Yeah, she started playing with her face then. Here she is. That's her.
Just like a natural
1998.
beaut, you know.
I was 2.
Let's get to where she is now.
I was too.
No, like 2 years old, not 2. Here she is in 2015.
Oh,
Now, obviously, she's
my.
a lot older too, but
Fucking, you sure that's not Glenn Close?
That's crazy.
2018.
Wow. Just total transformation of their face. It's crazy.
2019.
How would you like to be the poster child for?
Oh, this is scary.
Ooh, ah! It's like
Meg.
it's like the Michael Jackson black or white video, but like
Right.
horror themed.
I think Megans are just mentally unstable because we also have this option, Megan Fox. She went underneath the knife. If you
I don't know,
remember.
and Megan Fox got the plastic surgery so young. Like,
Yeah,
what in the
she's
world?
mentally unstable. I mean, she drinks blood, so you know. Like,
She was, she was like an international sex symbol, and she's like, you know what? This needs fixing. This right here
Yeah.
needs fixing. Right here, this isn't working.
Like, was it the 70s kids and all that had Carrie Fisher, early 2000s Transformers, Megan Fox for the boys, right? She was gorgeous. Look at that, and like she totally ruined her face. So shout out, thanks a lot.
Shout out.
Shout out to that. I think that's the most fascinating thing is you see these young women doing this, and they are young. There's zero reason. They're not like at the first hint of a wrinkle, they want to get it squashed. It's like, what are you doing? Like, it's amazing to see these wonderfully beautiful women and men make these decisions and not just embrace themselves as.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, who the fuck has Nick Cage been fooling with that hairpiece for what, fucking 25 years? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like guys go gracefully either necessarily.
No.
Some guys in Hollywood have bad plastic surgery.
We also have a shout out to Renee Zellweger, if you remember her. She's from Bridget Jones' Diary. She had some nasty plastic surgery. Where was that one photo?
Renee Zellweger. She was.
Whoa! What in the world?
Yeah, she like fucked up her face big time. Like, look at her. She was cute. She's a little chunky, but that's fine. It suited her. I think she looked great. And then, bam.
Yeah.
Dang, it's rough.
Ta-da.
Listen, it's as someone pointed out in the chat. It's like they get addicted to the knife. It's like tattoos. You get that first one, and then you just go down the rabbit hole, but before you know it, you have an entire sleeve. It's crazy.
Nah, I don't think it's that. I think it's just about they're surrounded by a bunch of yes men who, how do I look? Oh, you look fabulous, when they're not actually being truthful and saying, no, you shouldn't have done that. You looked better before. And then
Plus,
they're
in an industry where they got women in Hollywood have a way shorter shelf life, right? We could name way more chicks that were big for 5 years maybe and then went away than we could like prominent male actors who were big for 5 years and then just went away. There's like guys have more staying power because guys just age differently. They just age differently. They don't age as abruptly, I guess.
As pointed out by Cynical Finch, don't forget about Michael Jackson. Yeah, Michael Jackson was one of the worst. And
Michael Jackson, the worst thing about his deal was he also had a disease that gradually changed the shade of his skin color. So he had that on top of it, which made it even like the work that he had done like way more obvious, right? He had vitiligo, which he would use for a long time. He used makeup to blend to get huge spots all over his skin. There's certain photographs you can see where he didn't have the makeup on like his hands and whatever, even on his neck and stuff. And you can just see these huge splotches and whatever. And that made it even more obvious. I think that's one of the reasons Michael Jackson became so infamous for it.
I think we have the winner, though.
Oh, Madonna.
Oh,
yeah, man. Oh,
fuck.
my goodness.
Jesus.
Someone said it perfectly. I can't remember whoever said it, but they're like, this woman can't accept the fact that she's no longer a sex symbol. So she's trying to stay super duper young and putting herself through the knife just to be relevant. But she's in her 50s, 60s, or whatever it is. Sorry, you're done.
Yeah, at a certain point, you just turn into the aliens from Star Trek Insurrection. With
She's
the fucking...
65. Ooh,
Right,
she's even
right.
older than I thought.
Like, literally, she's geriatric. She can file for Social Security at this point. She doesn't need to be twerking on stage. Just throwing it out there.
She broke in her career. She broke when she was a little bit older than you would think, right? Like she got popular a little bit later, and maybe that's part of it. She was paranoid even when she first became popular. Like, oh fuck, I'm a little bit older than I should be for a young pop star. Maybe I should be tinkering with my noggin.
I just don't get it. She was so pretty, and we've seen since this clip the reality of how bad it's actually been. It wasn't lighting, it wasn't contour. It was like it's crazy. It's crazy to see the just morphing of this young woman. Just that was so beautiful before, and Now she just looks like a circus freak. Anyways, speaking of circus freaks, let's go to our number 2 clip with 170,000 views on the channel. Our boy Critical Drinker coming in talking about the circus freaks over at Sweet Baby Inc. Now, there's been a lot of conversation on the channel about SBI and the chaos that they've caused in the video game industry. Not just amongst the pushing everything that they push, but how they've literally been shuttering companies that they've worked with. They are the SBI kiss of death. And we talked about that on the show on Wednesday with another company failing, but also the bigger impact of how Sweet Baby Inc. has actually woken up some normies. And Critical Drinker chimes in on this with this clip. Let's go over to Memology over on X. They had one of those how it started, how it's going posts where they talked about, I've never had any interaction with the Ackman. I don't know who this person is. I guess they have a YouTube channel. Drinker, are you familiar with the Ackman?
I'm vaguely, yeah. I'm more because of his interactions with Az more than anything else, because I don't really watch his stuff.
Right. So Az obviously had his infamous rant on Starfield. Fucking pronouns, current day. And
it was amazing. Nobody on YouTube can rant in quite the emotional, visceral way that Az can. He is beautiful to watch when he gets going.
You're right, man. It's visceral. Like, it's to the point to where you can like see the veins sticking out of his forehead because he's so fucking.
But he cares. That's the thing. He cares about this stuff. He's not doing it for clicks and attention when it comes to stuff like this. He genuinely cares about this stuff because he is more of a gamer than I have ever been and ever will be. And this stuff matters to him.
So after his pronoun rant, once again tweeted by Dan Bask back in the day, Ackman says, gorilla-shaped man on the verge of crime because Starfield lets you pick pronouns at the start of the game, and then it never brought up again. Someone please shoot this guy with a bear tranquilizer. He's going to attack someone. So this was like just 6 months ago, right?
Just before you move to the next one, because I know what's coming. But yeah, it's interesting that he said that because that's what prompted Az to team up with Eric July and do a live stream called what is it? The Silverback and Ripper, and like Az has probably made thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars from super chat donations and revenue from this. So well done, Ackman. You gave him the idea for all this stuff. So good stuff.
I mean,
good going,
it, man. Brilliant. Really.
As thanks you, I'm sure.
Right. So he goes in and he's like, I don't understand. Oh, this guy's a gorilla-shaped man. And this was like yesterday or a couple days ago, whereas Ackman's like, he's starting to be awakened to what's happening with Sweet Baby Inc. So I started looking into the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff, and I cannot fathom, game studios would hire a narrative consultant. Isn't that what lead writers are for? Why not just hire a better writing team and keep it in-house? And so they consult this firm to basically get a better social credit score in the hopes of getting more investors. I think I just swallowed my own vomit. Right. So the awakening in a situation like this is kind of the most fascinating thing here, is that Sweet Baby Inc. We've been talking about this for a while, probably since November or so. We deserve zero credit for that because there's been a lot of people who've been talking about it a lot longer than we have. But to see kind of the awakening that you're seeing outside of this specific sphere is pretty fascinating. And I feel like this is just kind of the tip of the sword almost when it comes here. So.
Yeah. The one group of people that you absolutely do not want to fuck with is gamers, because those people are passionate about what they do and they have got a lot of time on their hands, and they will dedicate that to exposing your bullshit and unraveling it. And it's absolutely happened. In the case of Sweet Baby Inc., it was relatively easy. I mean, they were able to pull the information from Sweet Baby Inc.'s website and say, hey, just so you know, these are all of the other games that Sweet Baby Inc. has consulted on and has worked on. Notice a bit of a pattern here. Notice how like they all turned out to be kind of trash, with a couple of notable exceptions. That's the kind of people that you don't want to mess with. And that's exactly what they've done. And now that they've been turned on to this, now that they're aware that this is something which is happening, They will not stop until this stuff has been purged from their industry, and rightly so, because they are the consumers. They are the people who deserve to be having their needs met. And if they're not, then, well, they're going to track down the people who are preventing that and hold them accountable. Nothing wrong with that.
So speaking of holding people accountable, as Short Fat Otaku says, the Sweet Baby Steam group is approaching 200,000 followers at this point.
Yes, when it first started, it had about a few hundred, I think. Then Sweet Baby Inc., the people within that company tried to have it banned. They did everything in their power to have this shut down, even though it was literally just sharing publicly available information from Sweet Baby Inc.'s own website. And it was the Streisand effect. And now they're almost at 200,000. Who knows where it's going to end up? I hope it keeps going to 1 million at this point.
Well, so, I mean, this is like a cultural thing. And we had Kabrutus on, the founder of the group, the other day. And he's just a regular dude. He was inspired by another group on Steam to more or less, all he's doing is providing the information from the Sweet Baby Inc. website, right? And Kabrutus is on now. He's been thrust into this almost like influencer role here as his Steam group has grown. And this has been a talk on Twitter, on YouTube, really pretty extensively over the last week or so. As this, like I said, there's a great awakening here. But I did a little research yesterday, and this still holds true today. I went in to look at every single quote-unquote legacy outlet, Kotaku, Polygon, IGN, GameSpot. Not a single one of them has said anything about this yet. Not a single one.
I was going to, it's good that he didn't call them like mainstream or popular outlets, because Kotaku and Polygon haven't been popular in like a decade. They're just
legacy.
Yeah, legacy is the perfect name for them. Yeah,
right. And means old, right? They're old. They're old at this point. They're not relevant, right?
Look, I'm not standing up here as some kind of paragon of this stuff either. It took me a long time to realize the implications of this. Like, I didn't even know what was going on, because I'm certainly not plugged into the gaming industry, and it wasn't until I started reading into it and understanding what Sweet Baby Inc. was and what they'd done that it really like connected for me, and that's why I wanted to make a video about it. But yeah, I'm very late to the game on this one.
Well, but that's the idea, though, is that now people like this is kind of a pushing off point for a lot of folks. And I mentioned Sweet Baby Inc. kind of being the tip of the spear, but they're not the only one, as you mentioned, Drinker. The idea that I saw this post earlier today as well, a list of the Sweet Baby-esque consultation companies that propagandize games. Obviously, Sweet Baby Inc. And I you see names like Black Girl Gamers. Could you imagine if there was a list called White Man Gamers or a company called White Man Gamers? Hit Detective.
I see Anita Sarkeesian there at like number 10.
Anita Sarkeesian / consulting right there. Gamma Space.
The thing is, and this is all fine, like naming these consultancy firms, because it's publicly available information, the games that they've worked on. There's nothing nefarious about naming that stuff. But the bigger problem is the fact that this is allowed to happen. There's a gaming industry that permits this stuff, and that will actively bring in companies like this to consult on their games. Why? What do you think that they're going to do that's going to improve your game? How are they going to add to the quality of your game? They're not. All they're going to do is force in more of this crap that nobody wants, that nobody appreciates, that normal gamers get put off by. Yeah, they've got a threshold for it, and they might tolerate a certain degree of it. Like, oh, this is an otherwise good game, but like that was a bit weird. But it gets to a certain point where they just rebel against you. And now that they're aware of it, they're going to rebel even harder, because they're going to be on the lookout for this stuff. And when they see it, they'll vote with their wallets, and they will mobilize other people to do the same thing. And as they should, because their industry doesn't deserve to be politicized like this. It doesn't deserve to have all this garbage inserted into it that adds nothing to the stories that you're trying to tell.
The thing that drives me most crazy about this is like, no, you're right. Everyone will tolerate it. And it's not about like, I don't care if there's a gay character in a game. right? What I care about is when you take, like, there's this article. This is Gamer X, right? And Gamer X this is another one of those consulting and training groups. Number one, what gives them the authority to be a training group when it comes to story? Because they like penis, right? Or they like vagina, like because they're gay, because who they sleep with. That gives them the opportunity to be a consultant. But my biggest issue with all this is oftentimes I know a lot of gay people, and none of them walk around talking about how much they love being gay, or they love penis, or they love, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like they're a parody of themselves in these games. And I think that's the thing that drives me most crazy. They're like these over sexualized versions of gay people, or, you know, lesbians or whatever, you know? And that's the crazy thing. He's like, they're at a certain point, we're past this tolerant phase, and that's kind of how we got here, being so open-minded and tolerant, and letting it happen. Yeah, it's cool until it's not, and we're at that point where okay, we're all there now.
I think the very nature of being a video game player, like a gamer as we call it now, it's a young person's hobby, right? And it's something particularly for young men. And the thing that defines young men is their fuck you factor, right? They hate being told what to do. They hate being like told that they have to believe this, or they have to respect that, or they have to say this. That goes counter to everything that they stand for. And it was the same back when I was playing video games in the late 90s and the 2000s, right? And, you know, that was the mindset of people who do this. It's counterculture. And the moment you try to lecture people like that about social issues and political issues and things that they have to respect and things that they have to believe and people that they have to listen to, they're going to say, fuck you, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to be entertained. I'm here to enjoy myself. Nothing else. Fuck off with this stuff. And as they should.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what you're seeing right now. But once again, you know, these legacy outlets, they're ignoring it. They're acting like it's not happening. And that's where the parallels between this and what happened 10 years ago with Gamergate. Like I got Drinker, were you around? Was Gamergate on your radar a decade ago? Do you remember that?
It passed me by, I'm afraid. I wasn't really active on YouTube at the time, so I had no idea that it was even a thing.
Well, and I've talked about this as well. Like I was very active on YouTube a decade ago, but and in the gaming space, but Gamergate, like it was just this thing that I heard about. I was so worried about what I was doing and what my company was doing at the time but the big thing is that there's a lot of similarities between what's happening now and what happened a decade ago with Gamergate, specifically, you know, going back to this idea of the legacy media not covering it. So there's a lot of conspiracy, you know, I say the term conspiracy, I use that lovingly. There's a lot of talk of the idea that these traditional media outlets, these legacy media outlets, these websites, these blogs are working together like they did a decade ago to more or less formulate a response to this and ultimately say, hey, you who are talking about that, hey, critical drinker, hey, side scrollers, hey, you know, go down the list of everybody talking about this right now. You're a racist and a bigot for talking about this. And
yeah, I mean, they can pursue that approach if they want. They've got two minor problems in that. One, no one gives a fuck what they think anymore because everyone knows that they're just absolute shills. And two, calling people racist or sexist or misogynist or whatever in 2024 is like a Scottish person saying, hey, it's a bit rainy today. You know, it's become just part of the vernacular to the point where it's not even worth commenting upon. And so they have overused all of this stuff to the point where, sorry, why is my phone going off? Yeah, they've overused all of this stuff to the point where it has no meaning anymore. You know, they have played all of the best cards that they can possibly play, and they have none left. And now no one cares. They have no power. They have no influence. They're done. That's why this is probably going to do as well as it will. It's why it's garnering as much attention as it has, because there's no counter argument. The legacy outlets that would normally push back against this are irrelevant. They're spent forces at this point.
We've talked about, we can talk about this stuff all day long. And it's a question I've asked pretty much everybody all week. Like, outside of just talking about this, and raising awareness is one thing, voting with your wallet is another thing. In 2 weeks, the Game Developers Conference is happening up in San Francisco, and I feel like I have this urge to go there, and more or less, like, they're not going to let me speak at this thing, but you know who will be speaking is Sweet Baby Inc., right? And they're going to have all these conferences while they're there, these sessions. I would love to stand outside and not protest, but raise awareness as these game developers are walking in and being like, you know, we don't want this shit, you know, and like kind of organize something out in front. You know, I feel like that's the best way to be seen and for them to see this. And naturally, I feel like that would be written about by Kotaku and Polygon. And look at these racists, and by doing that, or look at these bigots, or whatever it may be. But I feel like that would actually kind of send a message.
It would, but again, like when these people cover it, they're just going to do everything they can to destroy you. And the movement's already there. Like the backlash already exists now to this stuff, and people are aware of it as part of the conversation. It was that watershed moment, like when South Park made the Panderstone episode of South, all about Disney and stuff. They made that part of the public discourse about all of these issues in entertainment, and it's there now, and it's almost like the job is done. You don't need to do any more. Just let it run its course. And it's just sad that the gaming industry has become like this. Like, you know, like I say, when I was doing this stuff 15 years ago or whatever, the attitude was so different. It was very much like, we'll do what we want. Like, it's unfettered art. It was artistic expression. It was creativity. It wasn't bound by all these puritanical like ideas of what's acceptable and what you have to do and who you have to uplift and respect and all that crap. You know, they were able to just have fun with it. That's why it was so successful, because it appeals to that, particularly that younger demographic who are rebellious and who just do want to have fun, who want to stick it to anyone who tells them otherwise. You know, that's what we're missing now. The game industry is trying to mature to the point where it's becoming boring.
You know, what's interesting is you're right? The gaming industry, anybody with two eyes knows the gaming industry is filled with dudes, right? And that's the reality of it, is when you go to these events, you know, you go to conventions, you go on, you see people talking about it online, but that's not what these consulting firms say. But that's not what they say. They say, well, listen, the white male gamer is not your audience. That used to be the audience. That's not the audience. But I think that's the one thing that you're seeing from the pushback specifically with the Steam group, is people being like, and even if they're not white or male, they're saying like, yo, like, we don't want any of this shit. And it's amazing.
And they must, you know, they'll dig up all these statistics to say, like, you know, 48% of gamers are women. And then you think, okay, how did you get that? How did you get to those statistics? And it'd be like, they'll count things like someone who plays a mobile game like once a week or something. Like, that's not a fucking gamer. Right. Like, you need to redefine like what your understanding of a gamer is, because that ain't it. And I think if you account for all that stuff, it's going to be like 80-20 easily.
Yeah, I think it's the inverse, right? I think what you see is mobile games, moms playing Candy Crush or whatever. It's 80% women, 20% dudes. And then there's probably way more of them because mobile games are so acceptable, so easy. And then it's probably 80-20 or 90-10 dudes to female in like the core gaming space, your console
exactly.
and PC.
And so those moms that play like Farm Simulator or Candy Crush or whatever, they are not going to care about Kill the Justice League or the latest Modern Warfare game or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or anything like that. That's not your audience. So yeah, you cater to your audience rather than the one that you want it to be.
The awakening is real, and it will continue as we go on. And once again, shows like ours and shows like Geeks and Gamers, shows like Gary, you know, all these shows that we are the wake up call for the industry. And I think it's awesome to be a part of that wake up call and continue the movement. And we appreciate your support. Once again, thank you guys again for your super thanks down below, your super chats if you're watching the premiere. If you did, I'll be keeping an eye on it, and hopefully we can give you guys thanks tomorrow when we're live We genuinely appreciate that. Let's go to our number one clip of the week, or of the year. I can do this every week, but our number one clip of the year with 193,000 views, closing in on 200,000. Now this is awesome because this has become a reoccurring theme on the channel with our poor sweet Blabs just her innocence slowly being taken as she's been exposed to a number of new definitions and new terms. But this one included Melanie Mack, as they learned only in just 2 short minutes, their innocence slowly was crushed as they learned what DP meant.
And then Just G makes it easy for $2 says, love Dr. Pepper. The soda's decent too. No, listen, Dr. Pepper's absolutely disgusting.
No. He said,
yeah, it
love.
is. There's literally a video on
Blabs.
of me trying Dr. Pepper for the very first time on the Geeks and Gamers clips. And it's like,
Blabs.
it's disgusting.
Blabs.
No, I won't have it, Craig.
But you are missing the point of his tip. He said, love DP. The soda is decent too.
Love Dr. Pepper.
No, Blabs.
Diet Pepper?
No.
Blabs.
Is it love?
Oh.
That's adorable.
That is
Is this
adorable.
some innuendo here?
Yeah,
Blabs, can you?
Leafel will educate you.
Okay.
Yeah, Blabs, I'll tell you.
I don't even know for sure what it is. Is it a dick pic?
Blabs,
Is it just dick?
It's got to be along those lines.
Tip?
Blabs, just go and search it.
Is that what it is? Is that what it is? I'm just guessing. I'm throwing out words here, guys. Help me. What?
It's like you could see when the penny took the instant.
Oh my goodness! Wow!
Blabs, your turn.
What? What'd I do? Wait, guys, search up. Let's try this. Hang on. You're gonna hear my
Don't look
secretary
it up,
keyboard.
Blabs.
Urban
Don't.
Dictionary
Don't.
DP.
Please don't.
Short
I don't want your
nickname-
innocence
Oh.
corrupted.
Oh no! I found it. Should I read it out loud? Urban Dictionary, shorter nickname for double penetration.
I didn't actually think you were going to read it out.
Insertion of two simultaneously to slut whore floozy bitch. Yes.
It's amazing that we've been able to create an entire playlist out of Blabs learning on the channel, and we've slowed it down a little bit because I like Blabs being a little more innocent, But you guys just keep pushing the buttons and keep saying, "Hey, why don't you just Google this?" And Blabs goes, "Oh." It's awesome. Anyways, love that. Appreciate y'all's support. That is going to do it today, but we'll be back tomorrow live once again when we're back at it. As always, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. Thank you guys very much for your support, showing up. If you're new, make sure you guys subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. And remember, people are going to try to keep you down. Don't let them. You guys got a goal. Go get it. See you guys tomorrow when we're back live. Have a great day. Bye-bye.